What is the US's reaction to the Kenya leadership's assertion that they are seeking a deferral on ICC investigations?
Well, Beatrice, first of all, it's good to be back on KTN. Listen, let me be very clear, and I want to be as clear as I possibly can be. The United States supports the ICC process moving forward. And the reason is very simple. There must be accountability for the post-election violence. Terrible crimes were committed. The Kenyan people deserve justice. It has gone to the ICC, and that ICC process needs to be carried through. Now, we had our Deputy Secretary of State, a very senior official, here last week, and he was very clear in his public statements that we support this process and we want to see this process concluded in an expeditious, timely manner. I don't think that we could be any clearer than that.
The question, though, that Noah had asked in his statement is that Kenya is now lobbying permanent members of the UN Security Council. If that is put to a vote, what would be the US's likely position?
Well, you know, no country on the Security Council ever announces in advance a hypothetical what its vote would be. So I'm not going to tell you that tonight. But I don't think I can be much clearer. It's one of those things where, you know, I don't think I can say it any more clearly than I'm saying it, which is we support continuation of the ICC process. The ICC process, we think, is vital to countering impunity and to ensuring that that type of violence never happens again. One of the biggest problems in Kenya, and one of the things that has held this country back for so many years, is the culture of impunity. And so these issues simply must be addressed. And as I've said, and as my government has said on numerous occasions, let everyone who is accused of a crime against humanity or of corruption, let them carry their own crosses. Let them not hide behind governments. Let them not hide behind their ethnic communities. Let them take responsibility and go through the judicial process.
Well, Kenya is looking at a deferral, first option, and possible withdrawal as a second option. If it does, what's at stake?
Well, a withdrawal, first of all, of course, a deferral is a deferral. But again, you know, I don't expect that to happen. The other option of withdrawing from the ICC will really have no effect, because those cases, ICC has already taken jurisdiction. Those cases would continue to move forward.
Well, Kenya says this is Kenya's position. What does the U.S. think about that?
Yeah. Well, now let me just make one point, and I might, I think I have this right, but you know, it's my understanding that this is not necessarily a united Kenyan government position. Let's remember, this is a coalition government formed under the National Accord. That National Accord is written into the new Constitution. And it's my understanding that the Prime Minister has made clear that he does not support deferral of these cases. So right away, that raises a very fundamental question about what is the Kenyan government's position.
The Vice President, though, has talked about Kenya's sovereignty being at risk here if Kenya's cases are handed over to the International Court. He has also talked about the need to restore peace and reconciliation. Is there, do you think, a threat of ethnic tensions flaring up in the event that the cases do actually make it to the court?
You know, there's always a danger of tension, but I think the danger of tension rising is much greater if individuals are not brought to justice. In other words, if justice is deferred or does not take place at all, that increases the chances for greater ethnic tension and greater trouble down the road. Having a credible judicial process under the ICC actually decreases the possibility of violence down the road. Now, certain people may seek to whip up ethnic tensions. We certainly hope they won't do so. But certainly in Kenya today, this is not the time to be talking about ethnic alliances and you know, the ethnic community per se. This is a time to be talking about what is in the best interest of Kenya and to put the nation ahead of individual interests. And in that regard, I want to commend what the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has been doing and the statements they've made about ethnic alliances.
You talk about a judicial process, and one of the reasons that Kenya is asking for a deferral here is so that it can have some time to put a local mechanism in place. Do you have faith that Kenya's judicial process can adequately handle the situation?
Well, you know, again, that's a hypothetical. I think it's going to be very difficult to set up a credible mechanism that could deal with these high-level cases. What we do think, however, is that a local tribunal is appropriate to handle the other cases, the less high-profile cases. And that's something I think that should be looked at and that will be looked at. But at this point, our view is very clear. These cases have been taken to the ICC. That ICC process is well underway. That ICC process needs to move forward now and needs to be seen all the way through to conclusion so that justice is done.
Well, you talk about perhaps no country can tell how it will vote beforehand. What are Kenya's chances, though?
Well, I'm not going to, you know, look, let me just say that my country will do what is right, I'm sure. I'm not going to speculate on what other countries might want to do or what's going to come out. Again, it's not that I'm avoiding it, but I'll tell you, no country speculates ever. Even if their position is clear, they never speculate in advance what they're likely to do.
I'm being told my time is up, but I need to get your comment on the headline story of today, which has been running during the week, the issue of nominations or appointments by the President and the Prime Minister. Yeah.
Well, look, I'm not going to comment on the individual names, Beatrice, but we think it's incredibly important that the process to appoint these key offices and other key offices be transparent and be credible and be done as is laid out in the Constitution. And I'll tell you one thing that's been very positive in this whole process is that in reaction to the way in which these appointments were made, civil society has spoken out as never before. We've seen the media speak out. We've seen the Commission on Implementation of the Constitution speak out. We've seen the judiciary declare the process unconstitutional. I mean, what more do you want to hear? It's clear what the view of the Kenyan people is on this. And I think it's important that the process be carried out in a transparent and credible way. And in that regard, I hope Parliament will play an independent and credible role in this process. You know, democracy is all about checks and balances. So I think it'll be important to see how Parliament proceeds on this, and to ensure that, you know, if the process is not open and transparent, that means that the best people will not be chosen. And therefore, these new appointees will not have the credibility of the Kenyan people, which is so crucial to move this reform agenda forward.
I'm going to wind up, Ambassador, in just a minute, but give us a reading of the political mood at the moment. Of course, we've got the ICC situation taking center stage. We've got the nominations situation taking center stage as well. The political mood, you mentioned about the ethnic alliances and so forth. How is the U.S. looking at Kenya's reform process at the moment, and in general, the political situation?
Well, obviously tensions have developed over these appointments and over sort of in general the way forward, the ICC and other issues. But the way I'm looking at the process, I'm actually encouraged by the fact that we do see civil society speaking out. You know, I've always said that one of the reasons the crisis in 2008 was resolved is because civil society, the media, everybody came out together. And I think we're seeing that again, where everybody's coming out and saying, wait a minute here, you know, we have a new constitution. We don't want things to be made done the old-fashioned way. We don't want appointments to be made through some secretive process. We want the process to be open. Let positions be advertised. Let interviews be done. Let people be vetted properly before they're named. So I think it's a new day in Kenya, and I think we're seeing that from the reaction of the Kenyan people, and that actually makes me quite positive.
All right, Ambassador Ranneberger, I must end the program here, but thank you very much for being on KTN Prime. U.S. Ambassador Michael Ranneberger telling us the U.S.'s position on the ICC deferral case by Kenya, the UN Security Council. And now hand you over to Anne and Michael in the studio. Anne, Michael.